This mission is well worth the lives of you and your men.
Man,
She thinks you're a man.
I think she's an idiot.
I know you're not a man.
I think you're an idiot too.
I know that much. I know that much.
There's a lot of idiots in this movie.
Oh my god. I love that quote. I love that quote.
Including General Idiot.
Hello again, and welcome to Science Fiction Remnant. I am your host, Robert.
This is Captain Chaos.
And down here in Australia, it's Mad Scientist Ray.
But it's a true Ray that you come from the land down under.
It is true. That is correct. So what have you guys been watching?
Can I go first, please?
Yeah, go on.
Please.
Star Trek, right? Yeah, Star Trek. Okay. Chaos, you're next.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Well,
Robert, what have you been watching?
I am in season 5 on Voyager right now. Really interesting.
Really? Star Trek? Who would have guessed?
I think that he's gone further than the actual freaking Voyager in outer interstellar space.
If it's powered by Star Trek episodes, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think
How many washing machines away you think the Voyager is right now?
A few.
Oh, but I do have to make an announcement though. I am very, very close.
Are you pregnant?
I'm starting. Well, might as well. Babylon 5.
He's
What?
pregnant. He's pregnant.
Pregnant.
We're very close for me to start Babylon 5. So
It's going to
Oh
happen,
my
man.
God.
See, that hashtag was not all for nothing.
That's right. It actually succeeded.
So we have something really, really special planned for you guys. So let's I guess it's just sit and wait at this point. But yes, I am about to start that, and we'll have an episode on the pilot of this TV show. So stay tuned. Okay, who's next?
You go, Ray.
Go on, Chaos.
There you go. That's the hashtag. It was not for nothing, guys. The hashtag made it happen. Gonna watch
And
Babylon 5.
if you're wondering which hashtag it is, you're going to have to check out the YouTube channel a month after this episode drops on the pod.
Or you can join us on our Discord and find out.
Yeah, we'll tell you. We'll spell the beans on our Discord.
We'll hand out information, but you had to come looking for it. It's like a quest.
That's right.
Well, me watching, which I was surprised that Robert was watching, Solo Leveling. I'm proud of you, Robert. And also, I actually watched yesterday The Matrix. That's one of my always come back to movies.
Such a great
I
movie.
ended up watching that movie yesterday again. And you know what, Robert? I know Kung Fu.
Well, strangely enough, I've been watching anime. Who would have
No
thunk
shit.
it? Who would have thunk it? My God. So I started checking out the Irregular at Magic High School, which from the title doesn't sound like sci-fi, but it actually is, because according to the blurb at the start of the show, magic has been systematized and it is now a science, according to this particular show. And it's set in 2095. And it's got some good intrigue, and the characters are well thought out, and there's all sorts of new sports based on the ability to use magic. And I really liked it. I thought it was probably better than Harry Potter. So there you go.
Flying football.
Flying football. Now, actually, they had magic powered surfboards, and they were zooming around a course on them. It was kind of like motorball on water.
Oh my God. They took away that from McCarty. Come on. My fly.
It was good.
I told you Harry Potter was sci-fi.
I know.
Or
And
sci-fi
Narnia.
adjacent,
And
anyway.
Narnia too, man.
Jesus. And other things I've been watching, Metallic Metallic Rouge, should I say? I keep wanting to call it Metallic Rogue.
You like it? You like
Metallic
it?
Rouge, which is set on Mars. It's pure cyberpunk sci-fi, and it's pretty damn good. It took me a while to get into it, but I'm about 5 episodes in now, and yeah, really enjoying it. Bit of Railgun S because that's coming up soon. We've actually got a date for it to record it. Oh my god, I've only been waiting for 2 years.
Yes.
And something that Robert put me onto, Log Horizon, which on the surface looks like fantasy, but it's actually within a computer game world. So
I'm sorry, Ray,
sci-fi
that you
elements.
have been put through that. I'm sorry, Ray.
Log Horizon's good. And this isn't sci-fi, but it's an isekai called Re-Monster, which I highly recommend.
Is it good? Is it good? I have it on my list.
It is good. It is good. It is bloody.
Oh,
You'll
nice.
like it.
Oh,
There's
hell
blood.
yeah.
It's a bloody version of that time I was reincarnated as a slime.
Okay, I need to watch that one.
That's the best way I could describe it. But it's an insta dub, so you can watch it in English the moment it drops.
Nice.
Well, since you
it's
mentioned
current.
since you mentioned that something no sci-fi, because I'm going crazy about this one. I am excited for Mushoku Tensei's new drop.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Hey,
2 episodes.
I think we're gonna start an otaku corner in the podcast dedicated to anime. I don't know.
It would not be a stretch.
It would
Oh,
go
man.
longer than the
You
episode.
know that I got addicted to this new series called Tokyo Revengers, which is no sci-fi or anything. It's kind of a slice of life with fights. But I haven't watched
Shonen.
Mushoku Tensei because there's more than 20 episodes. Can't be shonen. But actually, I haven't watched Mushoku Tensei because I've been just hooked on the other one, the Tokyo Revengers. That's how good it is, bro. So you gotta watch it.
I will check it out. I'll put it on my list.
Nice. Okay, so will that be our cue to move on to the first segment?
Yeah, I believe so.
And we got a treat.
And sci-fi.
And that was not the correct segment. And that was not
Chaos strikes.
okay. So
It's too late. It's too late to back up now.
here-
Oh, we're at the end of the show already. Jeez, that was quick.
and thank you so much, everybody, for no, I'm kidding. Here we go.
Robert hasn't recorded for a few weeks. He's a bit out of the loop. Give him a break.
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
And if you are new to the show, this is a segment where we feature the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. And what is This Is Sci-Fi? It's basically our attempt to get all of the silos on sci-fi together. So the idea came on when we started this show in season 1, where I went out there to the interwebs and found the hashtags for all my favorite sci-fi. So there's Star Trek, there is Star Wars, there's Babylon 5, there's all kinds of hashtags in there. And it's really nice. It's really cool because you get to interact with people for all the genres and all the types of IPs that you are really interested in. My issue is I really loved a lot of IPs.
What? Robert has an issue?
If it's sci-fi, most likely I have seen it and I love it. So the issue that I had was the fact that, I could find a specific IP and start a conversation with it, but there was no place where we can have all of the IPs together. And the idea came up for us to create a hashtag. I am really happy with what has come from that hashtag. So basically, if you're a creator or if you're a fan or a specific, type of sci-fi, all you got to do is add the hashtag "This is sci-fi" to your post, and that way you could share with everyone that actually loves any kind of sci-fi. And the thing that I like the most about that is the fact that I have seen um, where someone that either refuses to watch a specific IP for whatever reason, or someone that never seen a specific IP, or maybe someone that hates something about a specific IP and refuses to give it a chance, to listen to the passion that the fans of that IP in question have to say about. And in doing so, getting curious enough to give that IP a chance. And by doing that, they give it a chance and they found a new love. And now we have a new person in that IP that is searching for more content. Um, that is one of the coolest things I ever seen it in the actual hashtag. And the fact that we have a community where you can start a conversation about the thing that you like the most. And I think this is especially great for creators. If you are like a podcaster that does things about sci-fi, or if you are, it could be a director, it could be someone that, a writer that is all about the sci-fi genre. Uh, this is, I think, especially cool because it gives
Or an
you,
OnlyFans models too.
or if it's sci-fi related, yeah, you by all
Hell
means.
yeah.
But
Or the
it,
Sukudoji.
oh God. But it's really cool because it gives you an avenue to show your baby out, right? And get other people that otherwise would not have been exposed to that content, exposed to your content. So I really, really I enjoying. And if you have not heard about that, I mean, there's many ways you can interact. The easiest way is whenever you post something, go ahead and add the hashtag this is sci-fi to it, and just go ahead and follow it, see what you find in there, and that's all over the place. Now we have other places, like we have chats on X. We have our very own Discord as well, where you can join in and have conversations. And if you want to actually be on our show, there is one cool way aside from actually being here, which just reach out to us if you like to do that. But you could actually call our hotline is 1-305-563-6334, and you can leave a message for the show where we can play it live on the show and we can have a conversation about that. And aside from that, I mean, if you want to just leave a comment, that's also fine. You can leave a comment for the host. You can leave hate mails for our very own Captain Chaos. He's waiting for some of those. Um, you
They say you haven't really made it in podcasting until you've got a 1-star review. So
Yeah.
can,
Well,
so
I got people that told me to even stop doing it, and here I am.
so that's the many ways that you can interact with this. So I am really really excited because I am actually enjoying what I wanted it to be part of from the very beginning.
And
And
here, guys, I'm here. He's enjoying himself. Oh yes.
so
it's better than him enjoying himself with us.
He might as well be, but he won't need that.
okay, so
Do we have a hashtag the bromance is real? I thought we had one of those.
Yes, we do. Keep that bromancing all the way through. And now Robert would like to say, moving
well,
on.
yeah, moving on. I always ask if you guys have anything to add lately from, I don't know if you have had a chance to go through the hashtag lately, but anything that you want to point out.
Well, with me, actually, this week it kept me in touch with one of my favorite collabs, Cinema Recall, and what they've been up to because they use the hashtag, and it's always a fun way to catch up with friends and co-creators too. You know,
Awesome.
and that's been my good experience this week with it. Actually, it kind of got me up to date with what was going on in X, which I've been disconnected because I was off the country for a couple of weeks, but yeah, it's a great tool to basically find each other on those great conversations.
Awesome. And if you're not following us on YouTube, what are you doing? You're missing out. Because now, if you're not following and you're not watching on YouTube, you don't know why we kind of stopped what we are doing mid sentence.
But you can imagine to this song from Kenny G coming in smoothly.
Oh, wow. Anything you'd like to add, Ray, before we move on to the next?
Just basically that a lot of people get very one-eyed about their favorite IP. Star
Yes.
Trek, Star Wars debate that's been going on since forever, since the internet started, basically. And the whole thing is that rather than looking at it as a competition between your favorite IP and all the other ones, you should actually look at it as cross-pollination. So you've got a certain fan base. And if you never step outside of your silo, if you never talk to other people about what they really like, then you're never going to discover anything new. I mean, you get a season of Star Trek every now and again, and then you got to wait. What are you going to do while you're waiting? Check something else out. There's lots of sci-fi out there, as you could probably tell by the massive number of episodes we have. There's plenty of sci-fi out there, and there's more coming all the time. And it's great to it's like reading widely, which practically nobody does these days. But just gaining knowledge across many different IPs and enjoying what other IPs have to offer. You have that opportunity if you step outside your silo. But also, if you want your fandom to grow, if you want your fan base to grow for your favorite IP, you need to go and get other people interested and in sharing what you love and learning what they love and checking that out. Everybody wins. So everybody gets more exposure to more things. Even the Star Trek and Star Wars devotees could find common ground, I'm sure, if they just gave it a chance and enjoyed it for what it is, rather than comparing and contrasting. Just check it out.
Yeah,
find what you can in it that you can enjoy. Yeah,
exactly.
it's not it's not actually a competition. It's just either a different version of the future or a different thing about awesome stuff happening out in space. Yep. Sure, the physics, but as a scientist personally, you just hang that one up at the door and enjoy it for what it is. And if you give other sci-fi IPs a try, you may find something else that you've really, really enjoyed. So hopefully you can step outside your comfort zone and talk to people who like other things and take on board their excitement for it and get involved. And that's the fun of it.
But if you want to make it a competition, just know that mine is better than yours. So.
We need a hashtag for that.
I'll make a t-shirt about that. Mine is better than yours. And then I'm going to put Star Trek and Star Wars science, and then a click box in Star Wars.
Clearly that's completely scientific-y.
Yep.
Scientific-y.
Very scientific-y.
And we have the shirt. We have the shirt to prove it. So if you go to our website,
first ever dictionary word, scientific.
Yeah. We're reaching out to the Webster dictionary so they can add it.
Yep.
And the way you spelt it was just so stupid. It's not funny.
That's the point to it. The word has to make sense sometimes, right? Even if this is nonsense. That's kind of like a illumination ultimate simplicity tactic,
If you want to know what that looks like, go into our website, sciencefictionremnant.com, and click on the shop for t-shirts, and you'll see the t-shirts in there. So,
quite scientific.
Exactly. So are we ready to move on?
We never are.
I think we should move on as quickly as possible.
Moving on.
See, you couldn't surprise me. I almost click it again and mess it up. Well, for these shout outs, guys, first we're gonna get a good shout out to Cinema Recall. You can find them on X, Twitter, or Instagram by searching cinema_recall. They're an awesome podcast about all times classic movies. Basically, these folks talk about a lot of things that we all love, science fiction, remnant. Like I could talk for the three of us that we all like that podcast as
Yeah.
consumers. Uh, we hope we can collaborate soon. So if you're up to it, just stay tuned. Something might be dropped soon with it. On IG, we have JDCNLV. Oof, I thought I was going to mess up that spelling, but I got it. And Heather, HLM_FL. Thanks for the support, and we hope you continue to enjoy our content. Feel free to join or chat on the Discord channel. We have all sort of topics going on, and we are all passionate about it. Just like me on Cyberpunk, every time I get the chance. It's almost like when you're on the street and you make the mistake of locking eyes with a crackhead. You know that your soul is his, and you're gonna have to talk to him. Same thing when you try to talk about Cyberpunk with me. Also, I want to mention Starvinity, and you can look at the tag at Starvinity Saga, official page for Starvinity and sci-fi, fantasy, and space opera franchise inspired by so much. You can actually check their YouTube channel by looking at Starvinity Saga, or you can check it on the description of this video too. We'll leave it there as well. Also, CrowMagNon. You can also find their tag at mag_crow4593. Go check them out. The Center of Astronomical Research, actually, it seems that they enjoy our content. It's pretty fun that we get to see people enjoy it. Doesn't matter their background. That's a pretty cool thing too. They have a lot of great posts about science, and it's super interesting just to go and hop on their profile and check what they're sharing about. You can find their tag is at upgrade MEBB1. Go check them out. The podcast that wouldn't die. Yeah, they will not. And you can find it actually at T Podcast TW Die. Go check them out. I'm just gonna tell you, stop what you're doing now, pause, look them up, and have a listen. I would suggest, just like I suggest everybody for when watching us, go and pick up something that you have already watched, so it makes it the more interesting to listen to, because it will be just like here. It's like that conversation that can continue at any point. You can just drop and pick up from it, and you just get a great time. Also, one of our dearest collaborators and listeners, Zimmerman. He also writes amazing articles. You can find him at Zimmerman with double M in the middle. And you can go and check out his website at sci-fi-history.net. And that's where you can find actually most of his articles. They are fun, interesting to listen and read to. Also, the Halley's Casino Trilogy. You can find their tag at ICU 23891. I'm gonna repeat that. IEYECU 200303891. Oh my god, you pulled me hard on that one, bro. Come on, I'm chaos, not a human.
Look at the show.
And
notes
I'm
under the pod.
drinking,
Look at
brother. And the author Mark G. J.G. Fay, Halley's Casino apparently is a book, right, Robert? I think you know
Yes.
a bit more about it.
I got a copy of that book, so I'm reading it. So
Nice.
I think you pronounce his surname Fahy.
Fay or Fay?
And Mark, I apologize. I'm sorry.
That's why he picked me up to do it, because I'm shameless. So by all means, let me know if I pronounce it wrong. But I said them both, Fay and Fahy.
Shamers for the week.
Yes.
Yeah, so just remember, you can go to Amazon right now, and you can just search for Halley's Casino, and you'll find that book.
And that's all for today's shoutouts.
Awesome.
Didn't you miss one? What about James Allocca?
Oh shoot! Thank you, Ray. You made me look horrible too.
You did Skippy.
Thank good. Thank
Skippy.
good and shameless. Thank good and shameless. Sorry, James Allocca. Actually, go and find him on Twitter. Now I'm gonna send him off to you, man. James Allocca 7, author of Black Saucer, The Descendants of Crag, and Star Cops. That actually sounds fun.
Yeah.
So everybody go check him out. And now that's all for today's shoutouts. Okay, Ray?
Okay.
Leaving me out.
So now we move on to the next segment.
The Alita Army News.
Ooh. I've missed
up
you
for
saying that,
one.
Robert.
Robert, make an alarm clock for Ray so he can wake up to that song. I can imagine his wife. Ray, what the fuck is that?
You guys should,
Yeah.
you guys should play
Yeah.
that on the Alita live stream.
I'm gonna have to. Speaking of the Radio Chaos live stream, we had episode 209 recently, which was Alita versus Metallic Rouge. Now you see why I was watching Metallic Rouge. What is it about kick-ass cyborgs from Mars? Well, it turns out that I was misled. Rouge, not Rogue, what am I saying? Metallic Rouge. So Rouge is actually...
Moulin Rouge.
Moving on. Rouge is actually she's an android, not a cyborg. But if you know,
but she's read in French,
Battle
right?
Angel Alita manga at all,
she's read in French.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, she's Rouge.
But yeah, Alita during the Last Order manga is it's an android, so you can directly compare the two if you're looking forward into future episodes past the movies. But anyway, they both come from Mars, and in fact, Metallic Rouge is set on Mars, and it's quite interesting. I really got into it, so I'll be finishing that one off. And I would recommend that we do it at some point. So I'm going to convince you guys to at least watch one episode, so we can talk about that one. But yeah, it was an interesting.
Do humans and robots bang it?
Not as far as not as far
man,
as
come on.
in the
You're
show.
trying to get me to watch it, right?
It may be off screen. There's plenty of blood though. There's lots of blood.
Oh,
so
okay. You got me.
You'll be fine.
You got me.
But yeah, so I did actually set my co-hosts on Radio Chaos to watch at least one episode of the show so we could talk about it, and of course they didn't. So it turned into me convincing them to watch it, and I do believe that I pleaded my case quite well and convinced them to watch the show. So
you should have told me, man. If I would have had more time, I'll be outside. I would have watched it just to be there. Although I feel like I make you scared when I go on the board because I'm chaos and they are very reserved people. They're not charlatans and animals like me.
Sorry, you were off in the world of Paradisia at the time, so you could have been on there.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I'm in Paradisia.
You were in Paradisia, so
I was dead in Paradisia.
You had a prior engagement, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make it to Quickie.
I got to say that between you guys and my co-host over at Radio Chaos, you guys do your homework. Whereas they don't, so you're one up on them.
We're the real otakus here, bro. Not in Alita Army.
You're the professionals. They're the chumps. But anyway,
bro, I wonder if
they'll listen to this and bang me up. Yeah, it was a good live stream anyway. Highly recommend you check it out. That's Radio Chaos episode 209. Nice. So yeah, we've had a few episodes, and yeah, you can check that out on the #Alita Army channel on YouTube. And there's 208 other ones, so it's plenty to watch.
Just for the record, Ray, can I call you for the rest of the episode? Oni-chan?
Oh God, he's starting again.
Moving on.
Oh God, he's starting again. I think it comes in cycles.
Yeah. He's been saving it up. He hasn't had a vent for a while. So.
It's not me, guys. It's the whiskey.
Oh God! Should we be worried?
Yeah, bro.
Yes,
They
I'm worried.
took. What do you expect? They took 2 wisdom tooth out of me. I should not be wiser by now.
This is true.
Okay.
Why did they do that to us? It's idiocracy all over again.
Yeah, they either made it better or it's gonna get fucked up.
I'm just concerned that my co-hosts are drunk.
You
So-
haven't seen me drunk.
By the end of this episode, the only sober one will be our mad scientist here.
Yeah, pretty much. And that would be
Yep.
because I don't drink.
What do you mean, Ray? You don't drink?
Nope. I haven't had any alcohol for nearly 2 years now.
All right, I need to go to Australia and change that.
Oh,
You're not the only one who
oh
said that.
God! Lock your doors.
Don't worry, I'll sprinkle up something on your monster.
Australia.
You'll be feeling like a kangaroo by the end of the day.
Australia.
that could have more than one meaning.
Australia, this message is for you, Australia. When you see chaos going, just close the doors.
Yeah,
Just lock them.
good idea.
You don't want chaos.
I'll be riding an ostrich. I'm gonna make it to Ray's house riding an ostrich, bro. Because I'm that majestic.
You want chaos? Because that's how you catch chaos.
Is it illegal? Is it illegal to ride ostriches over there?
Oh God, he's planning it. He's really thinking about it.
Ostriches come from Africa. We have emus. Get it right.
I'll ride an emu. Although you guys might be scared of saying hi to my emu pet because that shit can kill you on sight.
I've had a run with emus.
Oh fuck that shit, bro! That thing goes like 60 miles an hour.
but you know, the Australian Army actually lost a war against the emus. So
yeah, I know.
If you don't believe me, do a YouTube search. You'll find.
Bro, I know that bird is one of the scariest motherfuckers. Like you don't want to be on a.
Actually, emu is small fry. Cassowaries. Cassowaries are like dinosaurs, like velociraptors. They kill people.
In other words, it reaffirms that everything in Australia wants to kill you.
Australia's Mars, okay?
It's like Australians are the least of your worries. Everything else is a problem.
If you want to practice for living on Mars, come to Australia.
Gravity is not hard over there. That would be like, I mean, if I want to go to Australia to live, I can make it to Jupiter with no problems.
Huh?
Okay,
moving on. Moving on. Are we ready for this episode? We're already
but we do it anyway.
We're completely off the track already, and we haven't even started.
Mm-hmm. Would you like a plot, gentlemen?
Yes, please. A plot, maybe with a little bit of salad on the side. Please.
Plot development, please. Plot development.
Plot development.
You know what they call that, right?
In 2065, Earth is infested by alien life forms known as phantoms. By physical contact, phantoms consume the Gaia spirit of living beings, killing them instantly, although minor contact may only result in an infection. The surviving humans live in barrier cities protected by energy fields to prevent phantoms from entering, and are engaged in an ongoing struggle to free the planet. After being infected by a phantom during one of her experiments, scientist Dr. Aki Ross and her mentor Dr. Sid discover a means of defeating the phantoms by gathering 8 spirits, unique energy patterns contained by various life forms. When combined, the resulting energy wave can negate the phantoms. Aki searches for a 6th spirit in the ruins of New York City when she is cornered by phantoms and is rescued by Captain Gray Edwards and his squad of Deep Eyes, consisting of Master Sergeant Ryan Whitaker, Neil Fleming, and Corporal Jane Proudfoot. It is revealed that Gray was once romantically involved with Aki. Returning to her barrier city, Aki joins Sid and appears before the Leadership Council along with General Douglas Hine. Hine is determined to use the Zeus cannon, a powerful weapon aboard a space station, to destroy the Phantoms, though Sid is concerned the cannon will damage Earth's Gaia, a spirit representing the ecosystem of the Earth. Aki delays the use of the cannon by revealing that she has been infected and the collected spirits are keeping her infection stable, convincing the council that there may be another way to defeat the Phantoms. However, this revelation leads Hine to incorrectly conclude that she is being controlled by the Phantoms. Aki and the Deep Eyes squad succeed in finding the seventh spirit as Aki's infections begin to worsen and she slips into unconsciousness. Her dreams reveal that her and the Phantoms are spirits. Her dreams reveal to her that the Phantoms are spirits of dead aliens brought to Earth on a fragment of their destroyed planet. Sid uses the seventh spirit to bring Aki's infection back under control, reviving her. To scare the council into giving him clearance to fire the Zeus cannon, Hine lowers part of the barrier shield protecting the city, though Hine intended only for a few Phantoms to enter. His plan goes awry and a legion of Phantoms invade the entire city. Aki, Sid, and the Deep Eyes attempt to reach Aki's ship, their means of escape, but Ryan, Neil, and Jane are killed by Phantoms. Hine escapes and boards the Zeus cannon space station where he receives authorization to fire the cannon. He's firing the cannon at the asteroid, which has impacted somewhere near the Himalayas, I believe it was.
It's like, great idea. Give the crazy kid a gun.
I thought he was actually, making up for something he was making. The smaller the wee, the bigger the gun, and that thing was enormous.
Yeah, that was a big gun. That was a big gun.
He probably had a micro penis.
I heard some AC/DC playing when they revealed it. Sid finds the eighth spirit at the crater site of the alien asteroid impact on Earth at the Caspian Mountains. So the Caspian Mountains, not the Himalayas. He lowers a shielded vehicle with Aki and Gray aboard into the crater to locate the final spirit. Just before they can reach it, Hine fires the Zeus cannon into the crater, not only destroying the eighth spirit, but also revealing the Phantom Gaia. Aki has a vision of the Phantom's home planet, where she's able to receive the eighth spirit from the alien particles in herself. When Aki awakens, she and Gray combine it with the other seven. Hine continues to fire the Zeus cannon despite overheating warnings and unintentionally destroys the cannon and himself.
Unintentionally or dumb intentionally?
Dumb intentionally. Gray sacrifices himself as a medium needed to physically transmit the completed spirit into the alien Gaia. The Earth's Gaia is returned to normal as the Phantoms ascend into space, finally at peace. Aki is pulled from the crater holding Gray's body and is seen looking into the newly liberated world. Roll credits. So this movie ran over budget and ended up costing 137 million US, which was a fair chunk of change in 2001. Movies a lot of movies didn't cost that much. It was a pretty expensive movie for the time. Unfortunately, due to a number of factors, the box office only was 85.1 million, so it was considered a bomb by most pundits.
They should have invested less money on her hair. They should have made her bald, man. She would have been sexy still.
They saved money on Sid, right?
Yeah.
Most expensive wig of all times.
This movie, I let me not get into it. We'll eventually get into it, but it is a first for a lot of things. There's a first for a lot of things in this movie, and it's so cool to me. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and ask the very first question that we ask in every one of our episodes. You guys, let me know who wants to go first. But the question is, how old were you, or when you watched this, and what was your very first impression of the film? And who wants to go first?
Well, oh,
Oh, Gio.
Gio
Oh,
wants
I
to go
was
first.
I was today's days old.
he's a
Today
big.
he's old.
Yeah.
So I guess we should start with you, so we don't taint your responses. But what was your first impression? And by the way, all of you out there, if you're not on our Discord, you're missed out because we actually had a watch party. So if you join our Discord, you could have been there to experience our very own Captain Chaos being surprised for a movie that he has not seen before.
Oh yeah. A lot of takes from underneath as she goes upstairs. Great. I
Well,
think it was. I think it was good. I think it was a timeless movie. It was done in 2001, so I kept that in mind throughout the whole movie. I think that is pretty decent. Uh, I didn't have many game consoles back in those days, so I can get to appreciate and enjoy good cinematics on video games so much that I would even go to cyber cafes so I could just watch them and be like kind of up to date with it. And this is like the whole experience because you get to have a full movie made with that rich quality. And when you look at it, it doesn't look like something that could have been done in 2001. So it's quite impressive.
awesome. Um, well, apparently, Ray and I watched this film when it first came out. So I don't know. You want to go first?
Okay, I can go next. It's fine. I heard about this movie that it was the first fully computer generated movie. First fully computer generated, full length, full production animated movie to be released to the cinemas, and I thought that was pretty, amazing at the time. And you got to remember that this is the same year that Halo Combat Evolved was released. So at the time, I was playing Halo on Xbox, the original Xbox. So that's the same. Yes.
Now the three of us guys.
Oh.
Timing it across the world is a little tricky. There's actually a video of 50 guys doing that in a bathroom somewhere.
Oh my god!
A men's room, and the echo and everything. It's pretty good.
Oh, that must be pretty good.
But so it was in the days of the original Halo on Xbox. So I was playing that, and then I heard about this movie, and I gotta go and see this. So I dragged my then wife, was my first wife,
so now you
see
collect
this movie,
wife.
and she was bored, as you could expect a non-sci-fi person to be. My initial feelings about this movie was that their reach was a little bit less than their grasp, or is it the other way around? But it wasn't quite there. I thought the technology was new, and they tried hard, and it wasn't that it was a bad story. There was a couple of spots that kind of felt like a bit slow and repetitive, especially the dream sequences where you were seeing the same thing over and over again and just going like, what? Because the movie's got a mystery in it and they're trying to work out what the hell's going on. And it just didn't seem to quite work for me. Maybe it was my age at the time, but I just wanted it to hurry up because it seemed a little slow in places. But, having watched it again recently, I could appreciate that a bit more. So I guess I've got a little bit more patience these days.
I guess you're matured. You're mature, man.
Yeah. But I mean, there was a lot of things in the movie, like little nuances and scientific-y stuff that I really appreciated, and I still appreciate today. So it's not a perfect movie. It's not entertaining all throughout. There was a few patches where I thought it was a bit repetitive.
Only I am perfect.
But for what it is and for the time it was made, it was cutting edge, and it was a watershed moment in computer video game angled movie production. So it's one of those ones that I think you should watch just to understand the importance of it.
Awesome. I watched it at the same time as you did. Well, basically in the same year, not the same time.
No, Race in the
But,
future. Don't get it twisted.
but
Can never do it. Can never reach him.
so
You can fly around here and visit me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. We have planes that travel faster than time.
you too can time travel. All
I'm
you gotta
scared,
do-
man. What if the plane flies into the edge of the earth and then falls through into the giant elephants that eat everything that falls on the flat earth?
Oh man.
Okay, so my first impression, I watched this in 2001, and I was in awe. I mean, I'm a gamer now, but back then I was a gamer. I like to think that I was definitely playing a lot more games than
What's
I.
the difference between a gamer and a gamer?
Well, a gamer is the one that it plays games every day, possibly multiple games a day, and that was me in 2001. Now, without with work and life and all this stuff, I can barely have time to play one game a week.
That
So
is not bad.
that is the difference. Back then, I was a big gamer. I was playing games left and right. Um,
Is
and
he talking about games or his sex life now? I'm a bit confused.
Oh yeah, he used to play a lot of games like that too.
so
Playboy.
this when I saw this one, I was in complete awe because uh, I mean, if you research out there, if you're not of that, in 2001, if you weren't playing video games in 2001, um, and you might want to go to Google and research what would be the best cinematic on a game back in 2001. The only one that comes to well, one of the ones that come to mind right now would be Halo. And the cinematics on that game were amazing. I loved that game. But when I watched this movie, I was a complete odd. And I remember saying to myself, "Oh my god, I wish game cinematics would be like this. This is completely incredible." Um, and it just as a gamer, this movie was completely awesome. And it I and I'm trying not to say much of the other stuff that we'll get into it during this episode. But yeah, my first impression was completely um out of words. Just looking at this and just enjoying what I was actually looking at. Um it only later in time I found out the little details that are actually even more impressive to me after the fact. If which is completely mind-boggling to me because when I watched this film for the first time, it was already impressive enough. And only with time, once I did some of the research on what it took to make this movie, it's when I got even more impressed with what this movie took to make. And it's a little sad to me that, and of course we'll get into that during the show as well, but it's a little sad to me that not as many people enjoy this film as I did. And it's the proof is actually on the box office and how this film didn't make uh, money on it, and they were planning on making a video game out of this movie. And I believe that because this movie technically bombed at the box office, they abandoned that idea. And that is another thing that makes me a little sad about this whole thing.
It's actually worse than that because they are actually planning to make Aki Ross, the character, a multi-movie actress. They're going to have her star in other movies as well, and all that went tits up when the movie didn't make money.
Yes. Yes. So and again, I mean, I don't know, Ray, if this is the same thing that has happened to you, but in my experience, I want to say about 80 to 90% of the people that I mentioned this film to have no clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like it's just like the what? Is that a game?
And
No, that's not a game.
first thing that comes to mind is exactly what Gio said. Final Fantasy from the game. So is Cloud in there? And I'm like, no. It is loosely based on the world. And I'm sure now our very own Chaos has an idea now that he watched the film in contrast to what he thought he was about to watch. But yeah, it's sad that I mean I really enjoyed the film. I really wanted this film to be successful, not for the film's sake, but for what this film could have brought out. And in my opinion, I mean, this, and like you said, Ray, this film is the first computer generated animated motion picture with photorealistic characters. That is a big milestone, especially in 2001. And it's just so freaking exciting to me.
Well, I think the whole discussion around ahead of its time is its sticking point, in that it was a little bit ahead of its time, and motion tracking wasn't quite up to the task of removing the uncanny valley. Now, the uncanny valley really messes up the average Joe. They just don't like it. They can't deal with it, and they just aren't interested in watching things that present too much uncanny valley. For those who don't know what uncanny valley means, and I'd be really surprised if a sci-fi fan didn't know what that term
It's
meant.
a valley that is uncanny.
Thanks, Gio. That really helps. So basically what it means is your brain doesn't accept what it's seeing because the digitally produced scene doesn't quite work in your brain. So maybe the characters aren't moving like normal people would. They're a bit janky, or there's some other thing like doesn't quite look right, and your brain is refusing it. And it can make some people feel quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it can be quite unpleasant for some people. And it can make some people feel ill if they're really badly affected. Now, of course, if you've been a sci-fi fan since the year dot, as soon as digital sci-fi started happening and Uncanny Valley was like present in pretty much everything, you got used to it, because if you didn't, you couldn't watch sci-fi.
Exactly.
So that's probably why the three of us don't have a big issue with it. But for the average Joe who's trying out something with, early digital effects in it, they would struggle, and some of them would feel unwell.
This way. We're so numb to it. We're cool watching spaceships hanging on floss on a black carpet. That's totally
well,
real.
Yeah, I mean, for scenes of things that don't actually exist, it doesn't tend to affect you because your brain doesn't have anything to compare it to and reject. But for people movement and things like that, and facial expressions and stuff, like a lot of early CGI people and video game cinematics and things like that, the people's faces are very static. There's no movement, there's no muscle movement in the faces, and that throws a lot of people off. It's like, that's creepy. And this movie is better than the average game cinematic, but it's not right there. It hasn't erased completely the uncanny valley. Now, I admit that I am utterly spoiled in the fact that my favorite movie is Alita Battle Angel. And in that movie, they not only used motion capture, which is capturing the body movement so that it looks natural, but also they use what's called performance capture. They had two high-definition cameras pointed at the actors and actresses' faces, and they captured all of the tiny nuances of their faces and integrated that into the digital character faces. And therefore, they appeared natural to us, and you wouldn't end up rejecting them. So the uncanny valley was basically erased. Now,
Don't you think that the machine was not properly calibrated because her eyes are weird? They don't look real.
No, well, that was a deliberate style choice. We could have a whole episode on that, but that was
this guy is how you can pick on somebody that likes Alita.
and it did create some uncanny valley for some people, but for those who know the source material, that was how she looks. She has large eyes.
So pretty.
Jokes, Captain Chaos jokes aside, I would have to say that is an amazing way to deal with bringing the original material into visual. And I don't think there was a better way to do it than the way they did it. And I think it was amazing the way they did it. The problem, I honestly think, it comes from people that are not familiar with the original material. And we're talking about Alita here momentarily, because those people are not used to like the big eyes. And that's a big complaint that I usually hear from people
Correction.
are
Big
not
Google eyes.
that they are not used to the original material. And that's the first complaint, and there's a reason why they haven't watched it. But if you are familiar with the material, then you will probably agree with me in saying that this is the best possible way that they can have done that and transferred that into a visual that looks. To be honest with you, and I might be on a stretch here, and Ray, let me know if you agree with this or not. But I think they were able to transfer something that could possibly bring uncanny valley into a visual in a way that alleviates that uncanny valley to the point where I felt I was watching the real person, and that's how the person would look like if they're given those eyes. And that's just my perception on it. And I think it was amazing.
Well, for those with the understanding, she's a cyborg. That's not a human face. That's a cyborg face. Cyborgs can look however they want. So
Exactly.
doesn't matter. But basically, just final point to do with Alita, because this isn't
You imagine how much better the movie will be if we would have told it Alita 90, 60, 90. Okay.
Oh God. Okay.
But no, what the point that I want to make is that all of the Kunstlers had those eyes. It was a sign that you were a cyborg from the particular group of Martians who fought with the Kunstler style. So you could recognize them immediately. So it was an affectation of the group. It wasn't, just something weird that some person put in because they thought it would be cool. It had backstory. So.
Now, going back to the film that we're covering,
Yes.
This is one of the things that I found impressive after the fact. I mean, this is something that I did not notice when I was watching, although I was in complete awe and speechless when I was watching. Like I said, I remember saying to myself, I wish I could get cinematics like this in games. And just have in mind, though, if you watch this film now, you'll probably say, oh, it's no big deal. We have cinematics like that all the time. We even have games now that are like that entire cinematic, right? But just remember, this is 2001. Go ahead and find Halo Evolve cinematic trailers on YouTube and compare to this movie, and you'll see what I mean. I'm not saying they're not any good. There were the Halo thing. I played them, and I remember going and just watching the cinematics because I loved them. But this is something else, and this is the reason why I said this film was ahead of its time. And why I'm saying all this is just so you have a point of reference. Back then, a Pentium 3 was the big deal, right? And we're talking about 933 megahertz chip. They needed, well, actually, not they needed, they used a total of 960 Pentium 3s with not it's 933 megahertz to make this film.
A truckload of them, literally.
It's amazing to me. The film took, I can't remember how long. For some reason, I want to say it took 4 years to make.
Yep.
Was it 4 years?
Look,
Okay.
look in the show notes. It's all there.
Her hair took 4 years to make.
It took 4 years to make. And the mind-boggling thing to me is that by the time they film the film, they have all the scenes and they're ready to edit. All the scenes that they filmed at the beginning were already dated. So when they put the film and they patched it together during editing, when they put in older clips that they had filmed and newer clips, they looked out of place. They had to actually refilm the earlier clips to make them match up
It's
technically.
re-render. It's re-render.
There you go.
So you think that they made a version of the movie with the doctor but bald, no hair?
No, and that,
I like
just so you guys understand, right? What the internal joke is. Um, if you watch this film, you'll notice the hair is amazing, right? In every one.
hair is
However, when you look at Dr. Aki's hair, you'll notice that that hair is rendered differently. It looks a lot more real. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is so you guys can hear the internal joke that our very own Captain Chaos is alluding to right here. The normal hair, for a human to render, and I'm sure they can render it now, especially with AI, is amazing. But back then in 2001, um, th- it, they couldn't render all the possible strands of hair. It's just not. It wasn't technically possible. So they chose to render 60,000 strands of hair.
Which is about half what a normal head of hair is.
Exactly. So what the joke is, it's a fifth of the time they spent on the film was to render the hair. So that
Why they spend a lot of time rendering the hair was because there's scenes where she's in space and her hair is floating around her head, and that's what they spent a lot of time on because it looked cool.
so
Let me just read this bit out because it'll put a lot of what you've been talking about into perspective. So Square Pictures rendering the film using some of the most advanced processing capabilities available at the time. A render farm of 960 workstations was tasked with rendering each of the film's 141,964 frames. It took the staff of 200 4 years to complete The Spirits Within. Square intended to make the character of Aki Ross into the world's first photorealistic computer-animated actress, with plans for her to appear in multiple films and different roles. So that was the intention. It just never eventuated because the film didn't make bank, unfortunately.
and that brings another fact. This was also the very first non-human computer character to appear on a sexy magazine you guys know as Maxim. Maxim magazine. If you guys are in the US, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it was amazing to me because typically, if you're familiar with Maxim, you know this is what they feature. young women that are, and they have a rating like, top. I don't know now, but back then it was the top 100. Well, Dr. Aki made number 87 on that list. And if you are on YouTube, which you should, you are probably watching the cover. It was actually not the cover. It was actually a flip page on the magazine. When you open it up, you gotta flip it open, and it's like a poster. And you get Dr. Aki in a bikini, and is the first in history, to my knowledge. And again, if correct me if I am wrong, but I remember seeing this on the magazine back in 2001, and it was amazing to me that it is a computer generated character and not a human being. And I
I
think,
just got one thing to say about this. Yamete kudasai!
oh,
Okay.
oh god. So that's another first for this film.
And
It's
if you want to know what that looks like, you can check out a YouTube video of this episode, because I just shared it. Hopefully, we won't get yeeted or cancelled because I showed that. She's wearing a bikini. I mean, it's basically what you'd see at the beach. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, back then I remember it was a bigger thing. It was
Nice
just
puppies.
it
Nice
was
puppies.
super it was super sexy back in, but now it's just a normal bikini. But that's not the fact. The point that I'm trying to make here is the fact that this is a first. This is a computer generated character. It's not a human being appearing on a magazine, as normal human beings would be. And that's just amazing to me. And that
Yeah,
kind
this
of
one you cannot bang it.
and that plays along with what you just said, Ray, about how they were planning to make this character an actress basically and work in different films. And to be honest with you, I would not mind seeing something like that. And it's a shame that it never came to pass, where you have a character. It would have been a first, where an actual character stars in different films. That's something that I would love to see. I know now we probably have a lot more, uh, technically, would be a lot more possible to have something like that happen, where you have a generated character star in different films, especially with how we have advanced in AI and image generated AI and stuff like that. But yeah, this film. I mean, we're talking about all this stuff that this film has done, but the film itself, to me, was very enjoyable. Um, it had a lot of action. It had your typical tropes from the decade. Um, it reminded me a lot of, vaguely Alien, which is Alien Part Two. Um, and one observation that I was actually talking to Captain Chaos during um, our watch party.
which party?
It was the 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 film. Um, it's I wonder, right? Notice how I'm pausing here, and I don't know how to like tackle this, but I wonder if Spectral took something from this film. And if you're not familiar with this, you can go out to our catalog and you can find Spectral. We actually covered that film, but it is vaguely similar. During Spectral, they need a special kind of light to see this, bioluminescent being that would actually kill someone by just going, through a person. And this is in 2001, where these phantoms, all they had to do is just go, you know, through you and you're dead. It actually consumes your Gaia, your spirit. So, what do you guys notice that? I mean, what is your thought on that? I find it very interesting.
Well, I mean, the upshot was that both creatures would kill you if they interacted with you physically, and I used the inverted commas around physically because the Bose-Einstein condensate wasn't particularly physical,
Yeah.
but and neither were the spirits. But yeah, I mean, it was a very similar sort of situation in that you couldn't see them unless you had specific light waves or sensing equipment, and B, coming into contact with them would kill you. So that's what you wanted to avoid. And of course, but the method by which they killed you, like one would consume your Gaia spirit, and the other one would basically freeze your innards.
Yeah.
So it's a little different, but it had the same effect basically. So yeah, I mean there is clear similarities between the two, but I mean modus operandi of a bad guy, there's only so many that you could have. So having two that are rather similar, doesn't scream copycat to me.
Yeah, definitely. Gio, what is your thought on that one?
I think that even though there's similarities, I think that it looked very original. There's some things that I commented to at the beginning that the way that the soldiers look gave me vibes of 40K, Warhammer 40K.
Yes.
Even in the architecture and everything, it's very, very inspired. The giant, colossal machinery, everything. If you think of Warhammer 40K and other genres that I really love, like Gears of War, that are very infused with Warhammer 40K, it breathes Warhammer 40K all over, and you can feel it in here too as well. It's very, very interconnected with that universe. So it's not a copy to me, but it's kind of like a tribute to those things that we love when we look at them through this IP.
Well, as been said many times before, no new IP or production is created in a vacuum. So there's always going to be influence.
My ideas are created in a vacuum, and that fucking authentic.
I didn't realize your brain was that vacant because it had a vacuum inside it. But,
yeah.
Oh well. Learn. You live and you learn.
I have a hadron particle collider in my head.
Really?
Yeah. It's a mystic place. It's like a black hole. No, nothing.
So he's not just splitting hairs; he's splitting atoms as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Nothing good comes out of it. Just sucks in shit.
Oh, dude.
Another thing that I think I like to talk about this film is the casting. I think the casting to me was amazing. Starting with Dr. Aki Ross, and that's actually played by Ming Nat Wen. If you watched Agents of Shield, you know who she is. If you watch Mulan, you know who she is. And
I got a question for you guys. A manly question about Dr. Aki Ross. A cup, B cup, or double D's?
Oh my God, he went there.
I say B cup.
Okay.
Nice and perky.
I
mean, she came up in Maxine magazine,
You see chaos. We're both married, so we're not allowed to comment on other women's boobs.
Hey, your wife's have boobs too, so don't play stupid with me.
I said on other women's boobs.
I'm sure you didn't marry. I'm sure none of you married them because they look like dudes. I'm sure of that.
Moving on to borrow a phrase.
I'm actually joking. Moving on. Captain Great.
I bet if your wives heard this right now, they will feel some sense of pride. They're your chosen
Yep.
ones.
Captain Edwards is played by Alec Baldwin. Ryan is played by Bing Rains. And you know what? My next two, well, actually, let me jump for a minute. General Hines is James Woods. Um, he plays such a great bad guy. I mean, if you watch Hercules, for example, he he has that flair, right? You have Keith Davis is one of the council members. Dr. Sid is Donald Sutherland. And then one of my two characters in this film, and I'm going to segue this into asking you guys the question. Neil is Steve Buscemi, and Jane is Barry Gilpin. And I honestly have to say, those two characters are my favorite characters in this film. And of course, Steve Buscemi, the the comic relief. It's yeah, I think it makes this film. And Jane gives me the aliens vibe. If
Oh
you
yeah.
watch that film, you know what I'm talking about, and it is so freaking cool. I love it. I love that character. So
It was the Vasquez sort of from Aliens.
yes.
What are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language.
So,
Let's rock.
oh god. So I mean, if you listen to the beginning of this episode, you know what I'm talking about. That's one of the quotes from this film, and it just killed me. Especially when Steve Buscemi's Neil says, "I know you're not a man," and she just responds, "I know, and you're an idiot too." Um, it's just so cool, and the entire film, they just go in that they have um that back and forth throughout the entire movie, um, all the way to
It
the
was
end.
sassy
Yes, yes,
all the way till their deaths.
exactly, and they died with that too. So, yep. If you are new to this, we are spoiling big time.
Yeah.
What I guess that's I wanted to say this to segue to the question, and any of you would, if you want to go first, and fine with it. But do you have a favorite character on this film? And if so, what is or who are they?
Well, my favorite character would have to be Aki Ross, not because she's the main character, but because she's a clueless scientist who goes about doing science in the middle of a very dangerous place and just oblivious. I'll be fine. You know, I'm doing science. It's more important than my life. It's like, Jesus. so the troops have to come down and rescue her because reasons. But, you know, she's a bit on the oblivious side. She's too busy being a scientist and discovering the cure and working out the mystery to worry about things like her personal survival. It's like,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
my mother had a term for this. It's all the brains and no common sense, and that's Aki Ross to a T.
Nice. And you know what? I think that I would have to blame Sid, Dr. Sid, for that. Because you know he's around the same. I don't know if you remember towards the end when I think he was telling Gray, "Don't shoot the phantoms." It's like, what am I going to do? It's like, well, I'll leave the tactic to you. Hello, use me. You're not the one in front of the phantom. I got to protect myself. So yeah, I think you know I would have to give it to the mentor, Dr. Ross' mentor Sid, as to why Dr. Ross is the way she is. But that's just my thought.
Mhm.
Hey, Captain Chaos, what is or are your favorite
Captain
characters?
Gray.
Oh yes,
That's my guy, bro.
Captain Gray.
Captain Gray for the most because at the end of the movie he's got his own soundtrack. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Yeah, he was my favorite one. I think he was the Romeo of the series too, of the movie, but he's one of the characters with the most redemptive qualities at the end.
You think he was the smartest one out of the bunch?
Well, he certainly was a catalyst.
Uh,
Smart? I don't think so. Why would
I
you
think
keep on
I
sticking with a girl that keeps on turning you off? Like, get out of there, bro. Cost him his life.
yeah, but I mean, the guy had a mission to complete, and most soldiery types are prepared to die to complete
Yep.
their mission because
They just need a
otherwise
good reason for that.
shit wouldn't get done.
yeah,
So
Yep.
and that brings me.
At least he ended up being able to be a bird, right?
Well, it's a cool thing you mentioned that because I was gonna that was the next thing I was gonna mention. Um, uh, there's a conversation going online about the ending of this film, and I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but I would like to hear your thoughts on that. Um, so towards the end of the film, we see how gray turns blue, right? So he's no longer turns blue. No pun intended. And he dies, and
I'm blowing, I'm a man, I'm not.
in doing so,
I'm gonna make a music video with that song.
he transfer the Gaia, uh, the Earth Gaia, I believe, into the alien Gaia, and in doing so, frees the Earth from the doom that is this alien Gaia. So, um, the next thing we see after they go up out of the canyon and they contemplate the newly free Earth, as Ray mentioned in the end of our plot. Um, we move on to a scene of a bird flying sky. Now, there's a lot of conjecture online. I could not find anything from the creators to basically said yay or nay. But the consensus is some people say, yeah, he died. But if you think about his Gaia, his soul was never consumed by the alien Gaia like it happened to the other ones. His Gaia converted the alien Gaia, and in doing so, free the Earth. Sure is that his soul went back to Gaia, like it's the story, what is told in this whole universe. When you die, you technically don't die. Your soul returns to Mother Earth, or your Gaia returns to Gaia, free to um, reborn or just being reborn. So what I'm saying all this is that there's a conjecture online that says that Captain Gray uh, was actually reborn as a bird, which is, if you watch the film, it's something that he really likes. He likes birds. So the conjecture is that they're saying that he's that bird at the end of the film, while some say no, he's dead, and that's just a cinematic gesture. Have you guys heard this before? And do you believe in either or the two theories?
Well, I just heard of it today. It's very nicely put, but I still hold my doubts. It was very inconclusive. But then again, there shouldn't be anything living around there, so it was very smartly, tastefully done, I believe.
And to add to that, if you remember throughout the film and how people die at the hands of the phantoms, it is very clear, and they make a point to make it clear that your soul or your Gaia gets devoured by the phantoms. In some cases, you see it clearly when it's a animal phantom, and you see the Gaia being um, consumed or chewed by the phantom. So this is the only scene in this film when a Gaia from a human being or a soul was not consumed, and that's where this whole thing comes from. Ray, have you heard that before?
No, I hadn't heard that theory. It was pretty obvious that he didn't go the way of all the other ones by being consumed by the alien guy, because at that point the alien guy had been trashed. So, yeah, obviously maybe he just went back to Earth's Gaia. I mean, that's what was normally supposed to happen. So, and Earth's Gaia was just down there. Like they looked down, they saw it. So it wouldn't be a far stretch to say that he went back to Gaia and for reincarnation later on. But yeah, either way, he was Cactus.
Awesome.
And Aki lost her boyfriend.
Yeah, she was pretty turned up about it. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I found that curious. I honestly, and I know I probably haven't given you my answer on that, but I don't think I have an answer on that. I mean, I can tell you what what I would like it to be, and if you watch this show long enough, and you know that very on Admiral Happy Endings, like happy endings, and I would love to believe that Captain Gray was actually turned into a bird, and but really tell you that.
You believe what you want to believe, Robert. It's okay. Stick to your beliefs if it makes you feel better.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's still not as good as I did wanted Captain Gray and Dr. Ross to end up together, but hey, that's what happened. That's I'll take it.
Well, there's got to be some cost in saving the world. You don't get away with it for free.
Exactly.
Generally.
So I guess I can move on to the one of the questions that we ask in the show is what do you think was your favorite scene? What is not necessarily scene, but what did you like the most about this film?
When General Hyde blew his own ass up, he deserved that so badly. God, he was a dickhead.
Overload. I know. Overload. I know.
He reminded me of like a 4-year-old. Just
Yep.
I want the lollies.
What did I say?
I know.
It was impersonation of a crazy kid, the gun, literally.
Yep.
He was a total idiot.
Oh yes.
We built this giant Zeus cannon, and of course you know why they called it Zeus, don't you? Because it came down from the heavens and fucked everything. Like Zeus.
Well, even in mythology, to be honest, Zeus tried to screw every single planet, right?
Robert got it. Robert got it.
You know what's the funny thing, the ironical thing? That the one that was able to get away with having a kid in his back and cheated on him with his wife was Uranus. This is accurate to actual Greek mythology. Uranus actually went behind Zeus' back and had a child with Gaia.
Wow.
And that's why he's always broken now. Uranus.
Yeah, if you're and for the listeners out there, if about Zeus, then all you have to do is ask Hercules. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? I have to agree with you. That scene was amazing because I think it was a karma scene. It's something that we, whoever, all of us who watched this film, as we were watching the events unfold on the film, we're just, that was the scene that we were waiting for because of all this stuff.
It was cathartic.
Yes, exactly.
It was cathartic. Hein was not my favorite character, but he was a character I loved to hate. He was so selfish and childish, and we've got a big gun, we've got to fire it. It's like he just didn't care. He didn't care about the method. He just wanted to pull the trigger. And even to the point of, letting Fandoms into the city and fucking over the population. He was supposed to be protecting to get his way. And then he's escaped from the city. He's like, I don't care what happens to them. I got to get out of here. It's like, you're such a dick. I mean, Jesus, you need to die. And then when he died, it was like, yep, you deserve that. Karma train pulled into your station, punched you in the face.
I mean, it was really interesting on the watch party when me and Gio were watching this, and Captain Chaos mentioned the scene where he opened up the gate for the Phantoms to come in. And Captain Chaos, what did you mention? You're like, really? He's doing that?
You're muted, Chaos.
Yep. No, it's not like I have anything of value to say at this point. It was total indignation. It was like the limit of fucking moronism. Being too full of yourself that you're actually willing to kill the very thing you're supposed to defend.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he literally, the proper justice would have been that he trip over his foot and die hitting his head.
Well,
that would have been great. Like he was a total jerk off. But at the same time, I gotta commend the actor on it. That's great acting too, earning the hatred of the audience. It's a big undertaking.
like the microbiologist in World War Z tripping up the gangplank and shooting himself.
Yep.
It's the sort of shit that should have happened to Hein.
Exactly. The sad thing is that the guy in World War Z, he was a nice guy. He was just too young and not really prepped for it. This guy, he deserves it.
3 times in a row. The universe said, nope, you're out of here.
Yep.
So I guess we're down to Captain Chaos. What is your favorite scene, or what's your favorite part of this film?
I gotta say, when the soldier is gonna die and he's shooting from the buoy.
Oh, that was bad.
It's an epic scene, man. I mean, it's like the epicness of being a badass dying on your last breath fighting. Actually, I was a little disappointed he didn't die clinging into the trigger. That would have been even cooler. Like he died, they took his body, and the shit still going boom, 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 boom. That would have been even cooler, you know? It's like immortality of death. But it was pretty cool, actually. That was like my favorite thing.
Nice.
I also like the scene where the guy, what's his name? This guy, I think he's Neil. He's with Jane, and they're outside trying to release the sheep, and he starts talking, and she's not saying a single word, and then he tells her like, "Can you stop talking now?" Because he got slapped trying to fix it.
Oh my god, that scene! I died. It's like, can you just stop talking?
She didn't say a single word. Also, when they're locked up in the cells, and then he goes like, "Yeah, what do you think? That I have a magical wand, so this turns off, and then everything turns off."
Something great. Wow, you surprised me. So like I surprised myself. And what was it that the computer was saying? Please evacuate to. I forgot what the wording is, and he actually says it verbatim.
Oh, like please go to all evacuating venues, and then they goes like, guys, I think that we should go to all evacuating venues right now.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Yep, very much, pretty much.
Steve Buscemi was amazing in this film.
He's awesome, man.
I love him.
Comic
Oh,
relief #1.
oh, yes. He does it so great in every film that I've seen him in. It's amazing. Did you know?
Look,
Go
this
ahead.
is the meme. This is the meme of Steve Buscemi, like trying to be younger than what he really is. Let me show you. This is the meme.
Oh yeah.
It's like a meme for like whenever you're too old for something, but you're still trying.
Did you see his T-shirt there?
Yeah.
Just says music band. Just generic placeholder. That's very smart.
Hell yeah. You still know what music band is.
And it's got the AC/DC lightning bolt in the middle.
Yeah.
Just to add insult to injury.
I'm gonna make a T-shirt with those fonts. It's gonna say ADHD. Definitely. But yeah, those were my favorite moments and my favorite characters.
I would have to say, I don't know. Listening to yours favorite it's kind of now saying mine sound kind of boring.
I
But
told you at the beginning of the episode. Doesn't matter
oh,
what you think. Mine is cooler.
all the scenes where Doctor Aki Ross is in space. It's the hair. I mean, it could be a hair commercial,
You
but
don't say.
because you're worth it.
Yeah.
The I don't know. I mean, especially when I watched it for the first time because it's not something that I would normally seen before. But it's just how the hair would behave in space. It was the coolest thing to me. And now even on the different rewatches on this film. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the battle scenes. The fighting scenes are really cool. But I would have to mention um, the hair scenes on space. They're just as cool. And yeah, if you are not watching us on YouTube, you're missing out. You're definitely.
I had to do it. I'm sorry. I'm the ticker bomber.
And with that, I lost my tracks. Oh God, that's
You were obviously talking about hair. Weren't you?
Not like it's so hard to distract you, Robert.
60,000 reasons to like it.
there you go. There you go. So yeah, I the scenes and the fighting scenes, they're really cool. Um there's a lot of similarities to, and I say similarities, right, with Aliens, because obviously Aliens, it was in close quarters. This one might as well be in close quarters. I mean, it was an open fight, especially on the scenes where they're like in and the I don't know why I want to say canyon, but where they were outside. Um, but it made the way they filmed it made it almost claustrophobic, where the phantoms were on top of everything and they were just shooting. Now, I that leads me to another question. Um, did you find it karma as well? Going back to the scene where Hind let the phantoms in, and things got out of hand really, really fast. Where the soldiers didn't have the plasma guns, and because they were not expecting that was going to happen, I do wonder what was in Hind's head because if he was gonna let a few in, let's say for example that it went as planned, maybe 5 got in and he was able to close it and no other phantom got in. How are they gonna get it? Deal with the phantoms that got in.
I think that the polarization of preparation in the show is very evident. So even if they would have contained only 5, it would have been enough to create chaos because it's not like they were fully prepared, like they prepared to go outside in the inside. So once these phantoms are away from the edges of the city, they had to travel inwards towards whatever they gone through, and anywhere they have gone through already would have been destroyed because these things are souls magnets. I mean, you could see whenever they will swing at a spaceship inside, like all the little blue things going off the spaceship and then the spaceship going off control. And it
Yeah,
seems that AI piloted uh, boyers or ships is not a thing. And
yeah,
it's funny because you could tell this movie is a perfect application where AI could be very, very important for the survival of a population. Because
yeah,
this wouldn't have happened if you had an AI entity overlooking and auditing such incredibly important choices that were taken so lightly. It's like the general was like the guy that was at the right time to do the worst ever decision possible.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like everything played out to land in his hand the chance to bring chaos to destroy everything, and that's what really happened. He
And you would
literally
know, Captain
obliterated.
Chaos.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I think. I was like, oh, that fucking lucky bastard. I wish I have half of those chances.
He was very, very impulsive because you would think that, okay, that is the plan, right? Maybe we should have like inconspicuously, eh, maybe 2 or 3 soldiers with the plasma guns, ready for, when things, get out of hand, they can deal with the 5. But no, none of his soldiers were prepared. They had actual regular guns with regular bullets.
That's the thing. If you think about it, his followers are a weak crew because they don't follow him out of admiration and real respect. It was more out of fear infused through hierarchies of power and consequence for not complying. And that's something that makes a weak leader is fear. Hence, on the contrary, when you have a leader that is followed by actual uh, loyalty, people are willing to die standing by you. It doesn't matter how grim it looks, and that's
Look,
what makes them more of a formidable force if you think about it.
look when they were in the Zeus space station, the Zeus
Yep.
platform. He got some of his soldiers to tell him, I don't think it's a good idea, and he did it
Hmm.
anyways. Um, that is the one thing I feel sorry for. That because of the moronic, you know, decisions of General Hein, all of these people that were in that station, including the scientist that they could, if you remember at the beginning of of the
They
takeover,
locked them up.
they locked them up. Everybody there died because of the moronic General Hein's decisions.
Hmm. But they'll
And
go further. Use Gray's squad as a comparison point. They made it through the very end, even though every single one of them died at the end. But they got the thing done and they saved the earth, and they were just a squad, and they were able to do what a whole military uh, platoon could not make happen, just
yeah,
because who was leading them and but how different their morale level was. At the moment that shit hit the fan, the guys from the commander were like, "Oh, I'm out of here," and die anyways. But these guys, the great squad, they face death and smile at it. That's
yeah.
the right attitude for war mentality.
Ray, you wanted to add something to that?
I'm just nodding along. I'm like, yep.
I mean, what I say is perfect. What else could you add to that
Yeah,
perfect speech, right?
that's it. We got no words. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for this.
Every now and then, chaos
That's so
comes through.
fucking awesome. Wow. Even my key was so high that my hat popped off.
Okay, here's another question. Would you, and this might be a hot topic.
Yeah, I will back Dr. Aki's Ross. I will definitely back it. What about you, Ray?
Well, I'm married, so no comment.
Okay, so the question that I had,
It was that one.
considering,
Oh, okay.
considering all the stuff that we're getting out recently, would you like to see a live action adaptation of this film?
Only if it's a hentai.
Mhm. Um,
I mean, it will be fun.
And
Only if the tentacles of the spectrals like get crazy. Right. I mean, I think it will be fun, but I don't think that it will it will look right. I think that we have the resources to make it even look more realistic, being CGI, and these kind of movies are something that are meant to be what they are from the beginning. So people don't expect it to change or get better with the years, you know? So
so
I
if,
think that the audience will be just happy with CGI fully based, maybe like Space Sweeper kind of thing, which looks more realistic. But I think that it will be just perfect like that. It shouldn't have to change the format so drastically.
let me understand a little clearly what you're saying. So you prefer something like Space Sweepers, or you want something done in the same manner as the original was made, a complete game mechanics?
Well, I think that Space Sweeper is full CGI movie too, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying like even the characters. Um,
I think that it could be a combination of that and how they did with Alita, that they digitalize her.
oh, okay.
I think that that will be the newer, better version of what we saw.
They
Okay.
could. I mean, I'm not down with what Captain Chaos is suggesting, but certainly they could put a love scene in between Gray and Aki before he dies. Like, get a bit of action. Plus, a last chance before sayonara.
You have a point in that because I think it will make it more of a sentimental um point, and it would make it harder for the separation at the end that
What would
comes.
you call it? Banging and romancing.
Um, I think it would make it harder. It would make it a lot more of a impact. Gray's death, if something like that happens, right? And I'm all for it. I think that that movie could only benefit from that.
It is safe to say that some of them really went out with a bang.
Well, there was a scene in space, but um we were led to imagine what happens. But I think I am with Ray in here, where I think they should have just again. Let me make it clear, not show a 100% what happened during that encounter. But I mean, we watch enough movies to tell that it is easy to kind of um, show you without showing you what's happening. It could be done, and I think it's beneficial for this film instead of cutting to black like they did.
I don't know that the narrative of the story is strong enough for a remake. I mean, there was some good parts about it. Certainly, the acting was good. The military-esque back and forth, joking around in the face of certain death was good. You had a bad guy that you love to hate, but it was just a little bit slow in places. I thought with the dream sequences over and over again, and she's trying to work out what it meant, which I thought maybe they could do something else with, maybe speed them up or just something that made it a little bit more meaningful to the story. Just slowed everything down. It was like a speed bump for the script. But I mean, yeah. Besides those bits, and fixing the uncanny valley might garner a lot more interest in this movie, just for those people that can't deal with uncanny valley. But yeah, I kind of would feel bad for all those people who worked so hard on this if it was remade and everybody forgot about this version.
Yeah.
Because it was a watershed moment in digital cinematography, which kind of makes me sort of lean towards not doing a remake.
So you don't want to do even if live action or CGI, you just don't think it's a good.
Yeah. I don't know that the storyline was wow enough to make it worth doing it again. Also, movies that flop like that, they don't tend to want to recreate them. It's usually the successes they recreate to try and make the money over again. So
Yeah.
I couldn't see them redoing it based on how it went. And that's not the fault of the movie. I mean, it was just a sign of the times kind of thing. It was before its time.
And I strongly believe in that. I think this movie was ahead of its time, and oh god, okay. So here, momentary pause on my comment, and you're wondering what that is, and you really want to know. You want to follow us on YouTube. Captain Chaos.
Geo.
Um,
I had to. I had to.
well, I don't even know what I was gonna say.
Geo's so hard up right now, he'd be happy to have his Gaia spirit sucked out.
Oh wow. Yeah, I completely lost track.
You blew him away, Captain Chaos. Well done.
I'm trying to remember. Okay, so there was a scene on this film where Dr. Aki was explaining to Gray, the what she's trying to do, and the idea is to collect the 8 spirits, and she was mentioning spirit by spirit. I believe spirit 1 was her. The one of the spirits was it was a little girl. I think she said it was 7 years old. She was able to get the spirit from her. She was in a hospital bed, basically on her uh, deathbed, and she was recounting that, you know, how she was explaining to the little girl how things are. So, like, when you die, you don't really die. Your Gaia returns to the Earth Gaia, and you can just go back and recollect and eventually be reborn. And in that scene, she mentions how the little girl said, um, "I'm prepared to die. You don't have to make up stories to make me feel better."
Ungrateful little brat.
That that was tough. Um, I would have to admit that it didn't have the impact that it could have. they actually showed that scene. That scene was supposed to be in the film, but it was cut off during edit. What do you guys feel about having that scene, the conversation between Dr. Aki Ross and that little girl with the spirit?
I think that the scene would have make it a little bit more concrete. It's already hard to sympathize with CGI fake people, or maybe I just dead inside.
And okay.
I'll pay that one.
Now, do you think? I know that it would have destroyed you, Robert, to have that scene into the movie.
I would have to admit it was hard, right? To listen to that. But I have to say, yeah, I do agree with you, Captain Chaos. I think that scene would have broke me.
I think if they would have killed a kitten or a dog, it would have been worse. The internet would not stand up for that. But a little girl, that's fine, bro.
Oh my god.
Right, Ray?
The opinions of a certain Captain Chaos do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the other hosts.
Come on, bro. You're Australian. You should be tougher than me.
Ray, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So, what do you think, Ray, about that scene? If that would have been in the movie?
I don't know. I thought it was in the movie, but maybe I was watching a special edition or something, because that seems familiar to me.
Yeah, they were talking about. They were actually talking about. It was a conversation between Gray and Dr. Aki Ross, and she was telling Gray her experience with the little girl. So she went.
Oh, it was she related the scene rather than it being shown.
Exactly.
Okay, that's why it seemed familiar to me. Yeah, I mean, I think avoiding emotional moments in a movie so that people don't get too upset is a mistake, because it removes the highs and the lows of the story, and basically flattens it out. And maybe that's why this movie didn't really land for me properly, is because they were, trying to smooth everything out. And, the smooth trips, the smooth journeys are boring as hell. You get on the expressway and you go at really high speeds, and the scenery zooming past, and you experience nothing but waiting to get there. But if you're on a trip with a curvy road and beautiful scenery, and you stop and smell the trees and the flowers, and look at all the scenery at the lookouts and all that sort of stuff, and take some pictures and sit under a tree and have lunch, it becomes a great memory. And I think that's the problem with a lot of filmmaking these days. They try so hard not to offend anybody that they end up making a really boring journey of a movie. So I personally think that these sorts of emotional moments should be in movies. You need to have the highs and lows to make it memorable.
Yeah.
I know, make it harder for you, Robert, but that's fine.
Well, aside from that point, I do agree with you. There's a couple of scenes they could add to this film that would have made it a lot more
impactful,
impressionable.
You know what scene was very good? This scene, bro.
What the?
Oh dear.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not saying that General Heim doesn't deserve being slandered like that, but you're going to town on the guy.
Hey, he's worse than Sabine, okay? And that's all I'm saying.
Wow. he, he's knocked Sabine off the #1 hate spot. Wow, that's
Hey,
impressive.
no. Let's make this clear. My #1 hate spot is for King Joffrey of the Game of Thrones. That guy did it, bro. It was so delicious to watch him agonizing death as blood tears of his eyes. It was just glorious.
So stay with that and leave Sabine alone, please. You know, she's our girl.
She's still a spoiled little shit.
Wow.
Oh my god, I'm sitting here doing this with you guys.
So, anybody else have anything else to add before we move on to the last question?
Well, we covered the technology. We covered about Gaia. We covered that Sabine is still a little spoiled brat. So that's good.
Gotta fit that in somewhere.
And we made sure to tell that General Haim was not a good guy. Apparently, he was trying to save everybody, though. So, E for effort.
I'll save you all the pain by killing you.
Exactly. I'm gonna end with the suffering by ending you all.
He was a good guy in his head.
Yep.
Just imagine all the stress you're gonna miss by dying early.
Yep.
Okay. So nothing else to add, and we can move on to the last question. So if you watch or listen to the show long enough, you know that we have that one question we ask usually at the end of the show. And is basically, in this case, we can take the full Monty and then mention that.
Can I ask the question, Robert?
Question is,
Can I ask it?
go ahead.
Will you marry me?
Uh,
Oh, it's not that question. It's not that question. Okay.
we are so
Polygamy isn't legal in
no,
the US.
join our Discord channel.
Oh my god. Could I just leave you guys alone? I might just step back.
No, we're saving it.
You almost made me spit my water, bro.
Get a room.
We're saving it for Discord. So yeah, you want to know? Join. The question is, what is your last impression of this film? And I think this, at least for 2/3 of the hosts of this show, um, it includes how the multiple times that we've seen this film. So I don't know if we should let the newbie here go first. So his responses.
Yeah, let him go first.
Okay, I just got one thing to tell you guys. My only impression was this. Wow. Wow. Okay, moving on. If you don't know what's happening, you should be watching the video.
So I think we got a Dr. Aki Ross simp in here.
Simp? No, looking at it with a depraved mentality. Simps are to chivalrous. You guys wouldn't do to her what I would do to her.
Oh my God.
I think that it's a fun movie. You have to like the sci-fi or Final Fantasy franchise for sure. If you don't like any of those, chances are it's gonna go over your head, or you wouldn't care much for the movie. That's the truth. This is one of those movies, sleeper movies, I think you could call it, because it's a great movie. You don't have to be full on Final Fantasy. Me, for example, I play a little bit of 7, and I play some of I think 4 for Super Nintendo. But I'm not crazy about Final Fantasy to know everything. I also watch some other CGI movies, but that's how good this IP is. You can enjoy it across different timelines without really hindering on your enjoyment of the IP. You know, and I think it's a must watch. Really, if you are, if you consider yourself a nerd, an otaku, or a gamer, for sure, this is for you.
Okay. Ray, you want me to go next, or
I can go next if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have it's not a love-hate relationship with this movie, but it's a sort of like-dislike relationship. People will struggle a little bit if they have difficulty with the Uncanny Valley. You kind of have to overlook that to get the most out of this movie. It's got some Blade Runner vibes in the mystery side of things, but it doesn't land quite as well as Blade Runner does. I mean, it could have a little bit to do with the direction. It could have a little bit to do with the rapidity of the dream sequences. But beyond those sort of speed humpy points, the narrative flows along really well. There's a whole bunch of good sci-fi tropes going on. And the interaction between the soldiers is really good. And certainly, if you're into the sort of the minutiae and nitty-gritty of the world, there's plenty of that to see. Of course, General Hein will leave you scratching your head going, how can you be such an idiot and be in charge of things? But that's just kind of what he is. But yeah, I do believe that this movie has a lot of value in what they tried to achieve and the amount of effort they put into it to do it. And it was very unfortunate that it didn't make bank. But I do think it's a must-watch for anybody who appreciates the history of sci-fi. So it's one of those, I need to watch this to understand where digital sci-fi started to become really a thing. You got to remember that around this time was when the Star Wars prequel trilogy was being released, which also had a lot of digital SFX in it. So you can sort of see that level of digital work, but they put a heck of a lot more into this than into the Star Wars prequels. So yeah, I mean, it all depends on the watcher, of course. But if you can handle a bit of Uncanny Valley and can appreciate that this movie, they were producing it basically 25 years ago, which is a long time in movie technology terms. So it is a classic now, and it is something that is worth watching within the context of this was one of those major milestones in sci-fi history.
Awesome. And I would have to agree with everything you mentioned there. I think this film it's is iconic for what it is because of all the first that it has. Um, I believe that the Final Fantasy name added to the title of the film could or may be misleading for some. This movie was loosely based on the Final Fantasy franchise. So what I mean by saying this is the fact that you don't need to follow the game or the story to enjoy or follow this movie. Granted, if you are a Final Fantasy fan and you're familiar with the games and all that stuff, then you could understand some of the stuff that was mentioned on here. But I don't think it's a prerequisite to understand this film. I think if you are a sci-fi fan or sci-fi history fan, this is a must-watch because it is one of those sci-fi films that has a lot of first. It is iconic for a reason. Um, the film was amazing to the fact where um, we have now today, and including the Final Fantasy remake games, I have a couple on my PlayStation 5 right now that the actual gameplay it's better than this movie. What I like to call it is a long cinematic today in 2024. But this film was made in 2001. and cinematics, not gameplay, were not at this level. So to me is very impressive, and I think that if you are a gamer, you this is a must-watch film for you, because if you look at it through those lenses, you realize that this film it's a catalyst for a lot of stuff that we have now. That this was actually the beginning of it, including games. And like I alluded to at the beginning of the show, when I saw this film, I remember telling myself, "My God, I wish I would have cinematics like this film." And today, we don't only have cinematics at a higher quality of this film, we have gameplay at a higher quality of this film.
Yep.
It is amazing to me, and it actually is a point proven that this film was ahead of its time. And I believe that that is partly why this movie was not a success, a box office success, as it is right now. But I think it is an iconic film, and it deserves a watch. Now, I do. I am very very curious to hear from you guys, especially if you've seen this film. You want to go ahead and reach out to us, or even join up our Discord. And if you have not watched this film and you watched it, um, go back and let us know what you think. I'm very, very curious to hear your thoughts, especially if you don't come from that era where video games were that way, like Halo Evolved and stuff like that. So yeah, my final thoughts on this film: it is a must watch. Um, it, if not for the first the historical value of it, but also for the content. It had amazing fighting scenes to me, and it's sci-fi at its best. So let us know what you guys think. If you watched it, or if you watched it after the fact. We're very curious. And that is my last on the film.
All right.
Okay, so with that, should we go into our next segment?
Sure.
And I promise this time I'll press the right button.
I'll press the right button.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'll press the right.
Go ahead.
Everybody's trying.
I'm not pressing anything. Go ahead.
Science and sci-fi.
The right button. Awesome. So, Robert, you've got a couple of. I might go last this time. So, you've got a couple of things here under the science section. So, do you want to cover those first?
Well, I find it really, really interesting. This is a concept. Granted, the Gaia concept has been in our literature for a while, when it comes to like um, with religious undertones and stuff like that from different countries over the years. But I found it really interesting that the concept of Gaia was actually the topic of a research paper. And I find that really, really interesting, where to me, it kind of like it bridges the gap. Obviously, the context is completely different. But there was, I believe, Dr. Lovelock in 1979 wrote a paper about the Gaia hypothesis. So basically, and again, you're welcome to research that. All you got to do is type in Google Gaia hypothesis, and you'll get a lot of scientific papers, along with some of results on what that hypothesis was. But I'm going to try to summarize it for you. So basically, the idea is Earth as a superorganism, and it's really interesting because that is what this film was talking about exactly how Earth was a living organism, just as you and me are living organisms. And in doing so, they have their own, everything is, like in this film is talking how the Earth has a soul. So Earth behaves like a superorganism with living organisms and their environments tightly coupled. This system has emergent properties that allows it to self-regulate climate, self-regulate climate and its chemistry. So just like a human body, kind of taking it as a biological organism, if you think, which I find that very, very interesting. Again, this is a hypothesis. I would love to hear. I mean, this is from 1979. The paper has a lot of good points. If you want to go ahead and read about them, I really wish there was a lot more research to support a hypothesis so we can see which would be, I don't know, proven concepts within this hypothesis and which ones are not. It talks about regulation of environment conditions, the evolutionary impact of the Earth, feedback mechanism. Gaia operates through a feedback mechanism involving organisms and their environment. For example, cloud formations over the open ocean is influenced by oceanic algae that emits sulfur molecules, which act as condensation nuclei for rain. These clouds, in turn, help regulate surface temperatures. So, and of course, the Daisy World model, the Daisy World model proposes by Lovelock, Dr. Lovelock, is an illustrative example on how competitive interactions between organisms can provide a homeostasis mechanism for the planet as a whole. In this hypothesis world, um, black and white daisies compete for space and regulate their planet's temperatures based on their abundance. So I hope that that explains it, the concept. I mean, uh, I invite everybody to go ahead and read the hypothesis.
Ray,
So many things.
Ray, admit it. He looks cool saying homostasis and nuclei, right?
Of course, they're awesome words. Why wouldn't you?
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if our very own mad scientists have heard about this. I I have to be honest. I discovered this recently, and it is really interesting to me, considering
Well,
it's been for a
here's
while.
a fun fact I want our biologists to confirm, but I think that the world's under the very bad misconception. They think that trees does the heavy lifting when it comes to transforming carbon dioxide into oxygen. Most people don't know that actually coral reefs and nurseries in the ocean do the heavy lifting. I think that the Amazon and all trees don't embark to a 40% of the workload compared in 100%
It's not actually coral. It's phytoplankton within the first
phytoplankton.
meter of the ocean surface around the world.
But it comes from the
So
oceans, right?
yeah, it does.
In
Mhm.
other words, you can say even though we could have the whole Earth flooded, it would not run out of oxygen just because there's no trees.
Well, I mean, if the Earth was flooded, that would reduce the oxygen consumption significantly because all the aminals would stop breathing. So,
No, we can float underwater cities, bro.
Uh,
uh,
but
you build one, I'll live in it. There you go.
what one of the things that I found reading that paper to me that I found really interesting is the fact that Earth is a breathing organism. It's crazy for me to see
Don't call it Earth. It's called Gaia.
Gaia. Gaia. Well, that is the name that Dr. Lovelock has selected for his paper, the Gaia hypothesis. What do you guys think about that? I don't know if you heard about this. I mean, it's
I have.
definitely to me.
Well, a lot of scientists don't like to sort of comment on things that they can't directly examine and experiment on and draw conclusions from. But theoretical biology and things like that, it's very interesting that people look at other people as an individual, like it's a one thing, but human beings are made up of millions of cells. And in fact, more than half of those cells aren't human, they're bacterial. So it's like, whoa, you're basically a bus. Every one of us is a bus for bacteria. So don't think of yourself too highly. We're all buses. But basically, and you can't live without your bacteria because they help you digest food. They're a line of defense in protecting you against parasites and other organisms that are deleterious to your survival. Because obviously they want to keep their bus going. They don't want it to die. But the human body, just ignoring the bacteria for a second, is made up of a whole bunch of different cells. And those cells, while sharing similar genetic code, have been differentiated to do different tasks. But they are all individuals combined into a colony, which forms you. You might feel like a together individual, but you're not. You're basically a mosaic. You are a jigsaw puzzle of cells. And you look at all the organisms on Earth, except for single cell organisms, are exactly that, jigsaw puzzle of cells. So you're made up of a whole bunch of different bits. Certainly they're genetically related and they procreate together, but they are a jigsaw puzzle of cells. In fact, the organelles, which are the different functional parts within your cells, some of those are believed to have been created when an early cell type has absorbed another cell type, but rather than digesting it, it is incorporated it into its function. So there's a particular organelle within your cells called mitochondria. And what mitochondria does is basically it's the engine of the cell. It produces the energy so that your cells can do things. And mitochondria are believed to have originated as another type of cell that was better at producing energy than the cell that had absorbed it, and then it became part of that cell. And there's this function called mitochondrial Eve, because mitochondria are always passed down from the mother. The father does not provide mitochondria to you. Your mitochondria, all the mitochondria in your cells came from your mother. And mitochondrial Eve is believed to be where the original mitochondria came from in Africa. So that's one of those very interesting entomological ideas of evolution. And basically, we're all related via our mitochondria, which is interesting. Because mitochondrial DNA is different from your cellular DNA.
So we're all cousins.
Well, that'll make Geo happy.
But anyway. we're not all from Alabama.
No, we're not. Unless you call the world Alabama. No,
Sweet home Alabama.
Oh, God. I apologize to everybody living in Alabama.
Yes, so anyway, if you look at the human body as a mosaic of cells, which are somewhat related to each other genetically, but functionally quite different in places because you've got different organs doing different things. And the fact that you can shed those cells, every 7 years, it's believed that the human body replaces its cells completely. So 7 years ago, you were actually functionally a different person.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
It brings up the point to transporters, huh?
Exactly. So if you look at the functional capsule of an individual that we look at and understand logically within our heads when we say, Robert, you're an individual, Geo, you're an individual, and I'm an individual, but you're actually a mosaic of cells that function. They function on their own, but they're provided. They function on their own, but they're provided with energy and nutrients from other parts that have done their job differently because they're functionally different. But you're a collective. I'm a collective. We're all a collective of cells. If you look at that as a functional unit, then you can look at the entire planet as a collective and a functional unit. Because we have biomes, we have environments, we have food chains, we have food webs, all of these things that are reliant on each other and interactive with each other. And if one part of it breaks down, then the rest of it can break down too, because that chain is broken. So you can look at the world. You can look at the world as a functional unit, and that functional unit is Gaia, and we're all interlinked within, the function of a
interlinked. You say
we're all carbon-based life forms. We all rely on DNA to produce the next generation. We all have a certain number of similarities.
And we all know what it feels like to hold hands with your mother. It's called interlink. In cells interlink. In cells interlinked. Oh, you don't like Blade Runner 2, so you didn't get that one right.
But I don't know if you understand what I'm getting at, but basically, if you can go up and you can go down, and you get similar partitionings.
Mm-hmm. It all connects molecularly.
And we are all travelers on this spaceship Earth, which, if we keep screwing it up the way we have been, it's not going to support us anymore. The food webs are going to break down. The pollution's going to get to the point where it's toxic, and there's going to be another mass extinction. In fact, humanity is a bit of a mass extinction already. Yeah.
It's kind of scary to me that we do have, if you think about it in perspective, we have a very thin atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
And
Don't be scared, Robert. You have a Tesla. You can survive anything.
it is.
You can drive in space. It's been proven.
Yeah.
It is the thin atmosphere, and if you know what happened to Mars, you know where I'm going with this. It is very easy, to something that fragile. Once it's gone, we have another Mars in the solar system. And
once it's gone, we can just terraform it again, and that's it.
So it's and sometimes, don't get me wrong, I am 100% for terraforming another body. I strongly believe that humans should, become an interplanetary race. However, I think that one of the hurdles that we have to go past is, like, before we planned, and we should plan to become a interplanetary race, we should, before planning on terraforming another planet, why don't we kind of terraform Earth to the point where we are not damaging Gaia, not damaging this planet. And once we know how to take care of what we already have been given by nature, then I think we would have a better perspective on how to handle a secondary. And I think, I'm not saying this and saying, okay, no, we should stop our plans to, travel to other planets. No, what I'm trying to say is we should hurry up and learn how to take care of our own planet to then travel as fast as we can to other, bodies or other, planets in their solar system or even beyond. What do you guys think about that? I mean, it's just
The problem is that Earth is over its carrying capacity for humans.
yeah.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that we need to kill half of the humans on this planet, but Thanatos wasn't wrong. Thanatos wasn't wrong. Getting rid of half the people on this planet would probably save the damn thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But countries need to get away from this expansionist. The economy has to keep growing for things to be working mentality, because the planet does have a carrying capacity, and we're pretty much over it, and the place is getting destroyed by the day, and eventually it will reach a tipping point, and there won't be any way back. So, I mean, we have to reduce the number of humans. My wife and I have only had one child. We didn't have two. We didn't replace ourselves. We reduced. So, you know, we have to be thinking, you know, smaller families, not bigger families, and just try and slowly reduce the number of people on this planet because there's too many.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, moving on from that.
Oh, you could send half of them to Mars. That might work.
Kind of grim outlook, but it's true. You know, it's definitely true. Did you have any other science?
Yes, I do.
I mean, we're
Yes, I
talking
do.
about Gaia, but yeah.
I know. I think the Gaia one's a very good one, and that's why I wanted you to wax lyrical about it for a while. Now, going on pure scientific awesomeness, the holographic interfaces in this movie is one of the things that really drew me to it. It's one of those, oh wow, I love representations of future tech, sort of sci-fi boners that I get, where you see awesome future sci-fi and you go, come on guys, why haven't we got hoverboards and flying cars and holographic technology yet? We just need this shit. It would make life so much cooler. So from Dr. Aki's wrist-mounted holographic interface that you can see a picture of here if you're watching the YouTube video, to now it's only showing half of it here for some reason, but this is the holographic workstation that they were working with in the energy plant at the city, where the General Heim comes in and ruins everybody's day by turning off the shields. But you can see here that this is holographic, and it has an advantage in that if something needs to be done a bit differently, you just reprogram the interface so that it presents the hologram slightly differently, rather than having to rebuild the thing physically, which would give it a huge amount of customization, which would be really cool. So you can see here on the left here, the guy's sitting on the chair, which has the stairs running down, and he's sitting on a chair. And then there is actually a physical gap here. There's no actual hard surfaces, and this is all hard holograms, so he can actually touch it and interact with it, which I find a really cool idea, and would love to see it actually created in real life. Now, this was in, around the year 2000. Do we have anything like that, 23, 24 years later? So they're working on it. It's the old saying. Working on 3D holograms that you can interact with. Now, the one here that you can see being demonstrated at the bottom is more along the lines of now, what was that movie? We covered it. Brain's gone blank.
The movie that we cover, that one.
Yeah, which one was it? Tom Cruise, solving crime, pre-crime.
Minority Report.
Yes,
thank you.
Pre-crime.
So
pre-crime.
This sort of demonstration here is more Minority Report-esque in that you're just sort of manipulating it with your fingers and then changing what's shown there. But the other one's more sort of like hard holograms where you can see through it, but you can also interact with it and actually physically touch it. So it's
Tony Stark
physically
kind of
there
thing.
rather than just a virtual representation. Now, some of you guys may have seen these. They're projection keyboards. So it's not actually producing a hologram. What it's doing is this little unit up here. Oh, I'll click on it and make it bigger. This little unit up here is projecting a keyboard down onto the desk. And when you put your fingers over it and actually place them where the keys would be, a sensor picks up that you've touched that area and sends back that keystroke to the system saying that you've pressed a key that's not actually there. It's just a projection that it's there. Now, rather than being a 3D hologram, it's a projection onto a surface, but it's step one to get to what I'm talking about. So they've been trying to make that happen. But that's actually a wiki about projection keyboards, about history and design. So it's a startup company in 2002. So maybe they watched the movie and thought, hey, we can do something like that, because they started up a year later, which is pretty cool. And you can still buy projection keyboards on Amazon. They still have these sorts of units where you can buy laser projection keyboards. So they're still available. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that technology becoming mature and us getting hard holograms, because hard holograms would be freaking awesome.
I want to add. I'm
Just
sorry.
ask anybody who's been in a holodeck if hard holograms are awesome.
I want to add to that, and before you continue, that in 2001 Seiko released a watch that is inspired by Dr. Ross' watch, and I'm going to go ahead and put some clips in here for all of you actually watching our YouTube channel. So this is pretty much what that looks like. And back in 2001, and they had the marketing, Final Fantasy, The Spirit Within. But it's really, really cool.
For those who are not watching, it's like a cool Fitbit.
Well, it's really interesting. This is in 2001, so all it does is watch, just keep track of time. But it's really interesting because nowadays it could be remade into something a lot more usable in the age of wearables.
Pip Boy, anybody?
Yeah. So I figure I mentioned and show that because I thought that was really cool. I never got a chance to buy one myself, so it's a shame. But I think that the reason why is they were kind of expensive.
You bet they were, probably.
So I just wanted to add that. So sorry.
Cool. No, that's fine. There's nothing to be sorry about. It added to the
Repent, Robert, for what you said.
to the story. So that was great. So if anybody's got any other sciencey bits from this movie, do you guys have any more points to raise?
I have a question though. The thing that she had on her chest, were there like Seiko bars, or they didn't have any kind of perky ability to it? They didn't help the mood stay up.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Oh dear. So that pretty much wraps up this edition of Science Fiction Remnant. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to discuss this or any other of our episodes in our back catalogue, you can catch us on Discord. The Discord link is in the description of the YouTube video, or it is also on the screen right now. If you're watching the video, you can scan the... I love that bit. You can scan the QR code and join us on Discord, or you can type in the Discord link or click on it in the show notes for the podcast. And quickly get to our Discord, which has a channel for pretty much everything. And if it doesn't, just let Robert know and he'll make one. So we have many, many channels, all sorts of fun stuff going on there. Lots of discussion, We have Ely Zimmerman on there with his science fiction history, which is great. He drops some fantastic memes in there too, so I always enjoy them. The meme channels where I hang out. That and the anime channel. But yeah, there's lots of fun stuff going on there. The more you comment, the more conversation goes on. So please don't be a lurker. Please let us know that you're there and what you're interested in. And of course, let us know if there's anything that's not there that you would like included. We're very happy to oblige. We also have a couple of websites. The first one is sciencefictionremnant.com, which is the website for this podcast. There you can find our latest released episodes, plus our back catalogue. You can also find information about the show itself. And also you can find articles written by ourselves and guest article writers, all about cool sciencey stuff and cool science fiction stuff. So check those out. We also have a website in its very early stages called thisissci-fi.net, which is a website linked to the hashtag, which we're hoping to build up into a nexus for the sharing of different science fiction IPs. And hopefully soon we will be getting a news section so we can let everybody know all the cool new stuff we've discovered that you might want to check out. So keep an eye on that one. There should be more there very shortly. Of course, producing a podcast isn't free, and Robert is footing most of the bill there at the moment. So it would be great if you could help out. If you really appreciate what we're doing here and want it to continue, you could join our Patreon. There is a Patreon link on our website that you can join us. There's also a link there on the screen right now if you're watching the YouTube video. And you could help us out there for a small monthly donation, and we will be putting in special goodies and pre-recordings and all the stuff you don't get to see during the show because we're being completely madcap beforehand to get it out of our systems. So you should check that one out. If you could spare a little bit of money every week, that'd be great. Sorry, every week, every month. If you can't see,
I won't complain if you want every week, though.
No, we would. But if you can't come at that, there's also a Buy Me a Coffee link, which will be coming out on the stream right about now. And of course, poor Geo there, he needs his caffeine to function. And we'd really appreciate it if you could buy him a coffee every now and again, just to keep him conscious so he can keep paying us out, because we'd really miss it if he was asleep. So if you'd like to leave us a message, a review, a comment, anything you like really to do with the show, what you liked about particular episodes, what you didn't, you can leave us a message on our hotline, which if you're outside of the US, you have to add a 1 after the international call code. But if you're inside the US, it's 305-563-6334. It's 305-563-6334, and you can leave us a message there, which we will play on the show when you leave one there, and we will also talk around it depending on what you've said. You can also leave hate mail there for Captain Chaos if you feel so inclined. He'd be happy to receive it. And of course, if anybody wants to give us a 1-star review, we could use one, just so we know that we're a real podcast. So if you really have a Debbie Downer on us, you can leave us a 1-star review, and then we can know we're legit. But as I said before, thank you for joining us. Check our back catalogue of IPs. You could find one that we've covered that you really like. Highly recommend that if you're going to listen to one and you haven't watched that IP yet, give it a watch first, because we spoil like crazy. So it's well worth the effort to watch it first, much like we do, before we talk about it, because it's very hard to talk about something you haven't watched. But you will understand what we're talking about a lot better if you have experienced the IP for yourself. As I said before, feel free to reach out to us on Discord and let us know if there's something you'd like us to cover. And certainly if you'd like to come on the show and talk to us about your favorite IP, feel welcome. We'd love to have you on, because, you know, getting a bit of extra opinions and a new idea about IPs is always great. And in fact, a couple of the shows coming up will have guests, special guests. So we're looking forward to that greatly. But until that time, hope you enjoyed this show, and looking forward to having you back next time for another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.
Bye.